So both of you are Olympians, as I said earlier, Dylan in 2012 and Jared, you in 2016. So Dylan, you finished 20th, right? 20th?
Mhm.
And Jared, you finished 6th. So can you walk us through kind of that qualifying process and talk a little bit about your race, but most of all, like the Olympic experience as a whole? And then I guess I'll start with Dylan on this one because you got to meet the Queen, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, so London 2012, I guess going into that Olympic cycle, I was like, I had run 2:12 at the California International Marathon in 2010. And in Canada, if there's Americans listening here, you have to, it's all based on time to qualify. So I needed to run 2:11:30. So I was kind of knocking on the door. Um, Cole's notes, I took a couple failed attempts at it before eventually qualifying at the Rotterdam Marathon, where I ran 2:10 to till still my PB today. And that was great and set me up for London. And going into London, it was kind of, I still really wanted to perform really well at my best. It wasn't just like, okay, I've qualified. This is like my life goal. Check it off. I'll just cruise in. I still really wanted to get the most out of myself, um, but also wanted to enjoy the Olympic experience. So Canada kind of, maybe it's similar for the US, but they kind of have this system where they bring you into London for accreditation and stuff like that, and then send you back out to a training camp somewhere. I was training in St. Moritz in the Swiss Alps, but I really wanted, knowing that the Olympic marathon was on the last day and that I would be back in the village for kind of 3 days or so before the race and kind of focus on my race. I knew I wouldn't get a ton of the Olympic experience just doing that. So I requested that I get to go to the opening ceremonies. So I got to do that, which was an amazing experience. Going through the tunnel into the Olympic Stadium, and we were singing "O Canada" as we were coming in, and that was really cool. One of my childhood heroes, Simon Whitfield, was who's the gold medalist in the Sydney Olympic triathlon. He was the flag bearer at the time, so that was a hugely kind of meaningful part of my experience with the Olympics. And then the next day, I got just randomly, there was really no information about it, but some of the Canadian Olympic Committee staff said, "Dylan, can you go to this luncheon at this such and such a place at such and such a time?" And I'm like, I guess, sure. And they picked me because I was there, but not competing within, the next day or two after the opening ceremonies. So I kind of strolled up a few minutes late, and I saw all these people who were like really anxious and like, "Dylan, gotta go here now." Like, gosh, what's going on? And as it turns out, it was like this meet and greet with the Queen of England. So it was for several Commonwealth countries, and I got to do that for the Canadian contingent. And there's a bunch of rules around us, like don't put your hand out to shake her hand until she puts her hand out. Don't speak unless she first speaks to you, and all this stuff. So it was a really neat experience in the lead up, and then shipped out back to St. Moritz for another 12 days or so of training before coming back for the race itself, which went about as well as I could have hoped. My goal, I think I was ranked kind of 40 to 45th in that range based on my time going in, but my coach and I kind of set out this goal of coming top 15, and just kind of looked at the caliber of athletes that had done that at past Olympics and kind of made out a plan. We knew it would be warmer on the warm side, and that people maybe wouldn't respect that. And, people get in the Olympics and think they can just like perform way above where they ever have before and go with lead pack. So I kind of hung back. And I think I was in about 75th early on, and worked my way up. But I only got passed by one person, and I ended up passing 50 or so people. I kind of stalled out in the last 10K, as you do. Things get tough, but overall it was pretty incredible. The crowds in London were amazing. It was on a 8 mile loop course, so you did that 3 times, and there was a little add-on at the start, but it was just nonstop. There was a few spots on the course where there were no spectators. I think because of security reasons, they wouldn't let people in certain areas. And when you got into those dead zones, it like my ears were ringing, and you only realize that once you're in those quiet spots, just how loud it was the rest of the way around the course.
Cool. That's so awesome. And I think maybe you should be in one of the future episodes of The Crown, you know.
Yeah, why not?